What if the dead could testify? What if a ghost could be the key to solving a murder? In the late 19th century, a woman claimed to communicate with the spirit of her murdered daughter. Her testimony would send shockwaves through the nation. Today, we explore the mind-boggling case of the Green Brier Ghost. Well, let's not waste any more time. Welcome to the Lore Chronicles. In the heart of West Virginia, where mountains touch the sky and shadows linger long, there lived a young woman named Zona. Her spirit was as bright as the morning sun, a stark contrast to the brooding darkness that crept into her life with the arrival of Edward Trout Shu, a man of iron and shadows. They wed, a union of light and gloom, and for a brief while, the world held its breath, waiting for the storm to pass. But the storm came swiftly and violently. One morning, Zona lay still, her life extinguished like a candle in a sudden draft. The world mourned the loss of a radiant soul, while whispers of doubt crept in the quiet corners of hearts. Edward, the widower, seemed a man consumed by grief, a statue of sorrow, yet in the still of the night, shadows danced and secrets whispered. A mother's heart, a vessel of love and intuition, sensed the darkness that cloaked her daughter's death. Mary Jane Hester, Zona's mother, was a woman of quiet strength, a mountain standing firm against life's tempest. In the dead of night, she felt a presence, a whisper of cold air that carried the scent of loss. And then she saw her daughter, or rather, the ghost of her daughter, a translucent figure etched against the fabric of the night. Zona, or so it seemed, communicated in a language of tears and gestures, a silent ballet of despair. She pointed to her neck, a delicate finger tracing a phantom wound. Mary Jane's heart shattered into a million pieces as she understood the horrific truth. Her daughter had not died of natural causes, but by the cruel hands of her husband. The trial was a tempest of its own. The courtroom, a microcosm of the world, was divided. On one side, the law, cold and impartial, demanded concrete evidence. On the other, a mother's love, fueled by a ghostly visitation, clamored for justice. The courtroom became a battleground, where the living grappled with the unseen. Mary Jane stood before the jury, her voice trembling with a mixture of grief and determination. She spoke of the night, of the spectral visitation, of the silent accusation. The courtroom was hushed, a collective breath held in anticipation. Some scoffed, dismissed her words as the ravings of a grieving mother. Others, their hearts touched by raw emotion, found themselves strangely compelled to believe. The jury retired, carrying with them the weight of a decision that would echo through time. Days turned into nights, and still they deliberated. Then, a verdict. Guilty. The courtroom erupted in a cacophony of emotions. Justice had prevailed, or so it seemed. But in the quiet of the night, as the moon cast its ethereal glow, the ghost of Zona Hester Shu watched, a silent observer of a world she had left too soon. Edward Trout Shu, a man once cloaked in an aura of grief, now stood accused. His face a mask of defiance. The weight of the world seemed to press down upon him, yet he held his ground, his eyes cold and calculating. The courtroom was a tempest of whispers, a sea of doubt and disbelief. How could a ghost, a mere apparition, hold such sway over the fate of a man? But Mary Jane Hester was unwavering. Her testimony, born of a mother's love and a daughter's desperate plea, had ignited a fire in the hearts of many. The jury, 12 souls caught in the undertow of a chilling tale, wrestled with the impossible. Logic warred with intuition, reason with the inexplicable. The verdict, when it came, was a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples of shock and awe through the courtroom. Guilty. Edward Shu, the man once seen as a grieving widower, was now a convicted murderer. The ghost had won, or perhaps it was justice that had prevailed. The story of Zona Hester Shu, the Greenbrier Ghost, became a legend, a chilling echo in the heart of Appalachia. Her spectral form, a haunting presence, became a symbol of hope for those who believed in the power of the unseen. And Edward Trout Shu, a name once whispered with pity, was now a byword for evil, a man consumed by the darkness he had tried to conceal. Yet the tale does not end there, for in the quiet of the night, when the world is hushed and the moon casts its ethereal glow, some say the spirit of Zona Hester Shu still wanders the hills, a guardian of the innocent, a silent witness to the enduring power of love and justice. The verdict sent shockwaves through the quiet community. The trial of Edward Trout Shu had transformed the sleepy town of Greenbrier into a stage for the extraordinary. The once peaceful existence was shattered, replaced by a world divided by belief and skepticism. Mary Jane Hester, the woman whose heart had been broken, now carried a different weight. She was a symbol of maternal love and perseverance, a beacon of hope for those who had lost faith in justice. Yet, the victory was bittersweet. Her daughter was gone, a life stolen in the prime of youth. Edward Trout Shu vanished behind prison walls, a condemned man carrying the secrets of that fateful night. His story became a cautionary tale, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the human heart. The town itself bore the scars of the ordeal. Whispers of the ghostly visitation echoed through the winding streets, mingling with the rustling of leaves and the murmur of the river. Some dismissed it as folklore, a product of fertile imaginations. Others, touched by the tragedy, believed. The house where the tragedy unfolded became a place of pilgrimage for the curious and the haunted. People came from far and wide to stand on the threshold of the infamous dwelling, to feel a shiver of unease in the same air that had once held Zona Hester's last breath. And the trial of Edward Trout Shu was more than just a legal battle. It was a clash between the seen and the unseen, a contest between reason and faith. And while justice had prevailed, the question lingered, as persistent as the wind that swept through the hills of Greenbrier. Was it truly the ghost of Zona Hester Shu that brought her murderer to justice? Or was it simply a case of human determination and perseverance? All right, so what do we know as true in this story? Because it's obviously a fascinating tale. So we're going to first look at the historical context of the Greenbrier Ghost. The late 19th century was a time of profound change in America. The nation was undergoing rapid industrialization, and rural life was slowly giving way to the urban modernity. Yet in the heart of Appalachia, life carried on as much as it had for generations. People were deeply connected to the land, to family, and to a spiritual world that intertwined with the physical. West Virginia, a state born of rugged mountains and resilient people, was no exception. Life was hard, and survival often depended on self-reliance and community. The Greenbrier County, where the story of Zona Hester Shu unfolds, was a microcosm of this world. The year 1897, when the tragedy occurred, was a time of growing skepticism about the supernatural. The era of scientific inquiry was dawning, and many people were beginning to question traditional beliefs. Yet in rural areas, folklore and superstition still held a powerful grip on the popular imagination. It's within this historical backdrop that the story of Zona Hester Shu becomes even more intriguing. A young woman caught between a rapidly changing world and the enduring traditions of her community meets a tragic end. Her story, infused with elements of both the old and the new, would capture a nation and become a cornerstone of American folklore. Now let's look at the legal implications of a ghostly testimony. The admission of Mary Jane Hester's ghostly testimony into the trial of Edward Trout Shu presents a fascinating legal paradox. On one hand, the cornerstone of legal proceedings is the admissibility of tangible, verifiable evidence. Eyewitness testimony, while often fallible, is generally accepted in court. However, the testimony of a ghost, an entity outside the realm of physical existence, stretches the boundaries of traditional legal standards to their breaking point. The defense would undoubtedly argue that such testimony is hearsay and therefore inadmissible. Now, hearsay is generally defined as an out-of-court statement offered for the truth of the matter asserted. A ghost's communication, even through a living intermediary, could be challenged on these grounds. Moreover, the question of the ghost's competency as a witness would arise. Can an entity without a physical body be considered competent to testify? Does it possess the capacity to understand the nature of an oath or affirmation? These are questions we got to ask ourselves. The prosecution, on the other hand, would argue for the exceptional nature of the case. The lack of any credible suspects coupled with the circumstantial evidence might be presented as justification for admitting the ghostly testimony. Ultimately, the decision of whether to admit such evidence rests within the judge, who must balance the rules of evidence with the pursuit of justice. The Greenbrier Ghost case stands as a unique legal precedent, haunting exploration of the intersection of law and the inexplicable. Now let's look at the psychological impact on the community. The Greenbrier Ghost case cast a long shadow over the community, obviously. The The once quiet, tight-knit town found itself at the epicenter of a media frenzy. The constant scrutiny, the intrusive questions, and the prying eyes of outsiders disrupt the tranquil rhythm of life. Fear and suspicion began to creep into the hearts of the residents. The idea that a ghost can influence the course of justice was both terrifying and exhilarating. Some people found solace in the belief that justice had been served, while others were consumed by doubt and uncertainty. The case also exacerbated existing social divisions. Those who had always been skeptical of the supernatural were quick to dismiss the ghostly testimony as a figment of a grieving mother's imagination. On the other hand, those who had a deep-rooted belief in the spirit world found their faith reinforced. The trial became a touchstone for discussions about faith, reason, and the nature of reality. The community was forced to confront its own beliefs and values in a way it never had before. The case left an enduring mark on the collective psyche of the town, a wound that would take years to heal. Now, what about modern interpretations and skepticism? The tale of the Greenbrier Ghost has endured for over a century, evolving from a local sensation into a nationally recognized folklore. However, with the advent of modern skepticism and scientific inquiry, the story has been subject to intense scrutiny. Skeptics often point to the lack of physical evidence supporting the ghostly manifestations. They argue that the case can be explained by psychological factors such as grief, hysteria, or even deliberate deception. The idea of a community gripped by mass hysteria is a common explanation offered by skeptics. Moreover, the absence of corroborating witnesses to the ghostly appearances has fueled doubts. While Mary Jane Hester's testimony was compelling, the lack of independent verification weakens the case for many. On the other hand, believers often cite the enduring power of the story itself as evidence of its authenticity. They argue that the case taps into a deep-seated human desire to believe in the supernatural. The story's ability to evoke strong emotional responses, even today, is seen as proof of its underlying truth. Additionally, some paranormal researchers have revisited the case, applying modern investigative techniques. They've explored the possibility of alternative explanations, such as sleep paralysis or hallucinations, without definitively dismissing the paranormal. Ultimately, the Greenbrier Ghost story remains a captivating enigma, a tale that defies easy categorization. It is a testament to the enduring power of folklore and the human fascination with the unknown. Whether it is a product of mass hysteria, a case of mistaken identity, or a genuine encounter with the paranormal, the story of Zona Hester Shu will continue to intrigue and inspire for generations to come. And what about you? What do you believe? Do you believe the ghost aided in the murder case? Do you believe in ghosts? I know I have my own view of the topic, which coincides with my faith and spirituality. But I'm sure you have your own thoughts on the matter. So let's hear it. And as always, if you like this sort of content, be sure to check out our channel for more interesting stories of folklore and urban legends. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time.